gangs. I was streetwise and knew the games that people played. I was a gangster, a young gangster, and I had a 45-year-old mentality because I grew up with older guys. They taught me a lot of things. But I emerged out of that, and it was a blessing that I went to prison for something I didn't do because it gave me an opportunity to do some introspection, soul searching, as we would call it, from a down-to-earth perspective. And once I did that, I learned how to read in 3 months, and I got my GED, my associate degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and eventually PhD. While I was incarcerated. But I had to do this on my own terms because Malcolm was a mentor for a lot of us that was young in prison. There was a lot of brothers studying, educating themselves. They got a sister out here now, 45 years in Clinton. I didn't know that. I'm trying to touch base with her because she has a story to tell.
You make an interesting point. You said the term you used, that's not a word you hear. It was community. I didn't go to law school to make money. I went to law school to teach my community how to respond and how to navigate the law. The money was going to come. It wasn't an issue. At some point, it's going to come. That wasn't my impetus. My impetus was to come back and train people so they understood how the law works and how it impacts them. Not, I'm going to go out here. So it was a communal. You didn't think about just me. It wasn't a selfish, it's all about me. It was like the decisions I make are going to impact my entire community. I'm not going to school just to make money. I'm going to see what I can bring back to my community.
Nowadays, it's like a lot of the black people who got, a lot of the black scholars or whatever, they got their degrees, and it's like they forgot about the whole struggle. Why
they're miseducated.
That's what it is.
There's a book called by Carter G. Woodson called The Miseducation of the Negro that was done in 1933. That's still applicable today. Even the one Brainwashed, that's the updated version of Carter G. Woodson's book about we're so brainwashed we don't even know we're brainwashed. You know, they'll say come through the back door, you won't come through the front door, you won't even do it. You go back in the back door and build an entrance to the back door because you're so brainwashed.
Question. Everything y'all saying is very interesting, but I want to hear what the youth have to say.
Good idea.
I really do want to hear what the youth. Because, see, we learn all this information, but we also want to apply it too. So
right.
We can just say and listen and learn about all this stuff. I mean, I really want to hear what they got to say too. Because what they got to say.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be about.
Right.
Everybody contributes something to the conversation. You know, that's how we grow. It's like a workshop in here.
Some people, like, you know, refer to the Jewish community, and a lot of these solutions I'm hearing, I personally am reading my Bible more. It all, to me, like, it seems like I've heard all these things from the Bible. So I feel like another solution could be our increase in faith. I mean, like you said, you know, religion can stifle somebody. I don't want to say, you know, my faith is religious. I want to say that my faith is coming from what I read in the Word and what's being discerned from God. So I feel like another solution could be faith, because my faith, you know, it liberates me to learn more. It liberates me to come to discuss discussions like this. It liberates me to have a sense of community. It liberates me to not want to make plastic today and in 10, 20 years, you know, have it destroy the earth. Like, I'm not going to school, you know, not only for myself but for my community. So I think a faith-based community plan can really help.
What about people who are, I mean, how do you take into consideration people who are, that's not the way for them? How do you see that?
I feel like that's the solution. Like, some of these solutions, like you said, like some people would go on the street and start preaching to people or start talking to people, and people would say we're stupid or would say we're, you know, we're crazy. But like I said, like, that's what I believe, faith-based. Like, okay, they don't believe it, I just pray for them that they believe it.
This is the problem I have with faith and religion. They come from African concepts, twisted African concepts. They twist it and refeed it to you.
Okay.
So if you're taking something that's twisted, the people that's in these organizations don't realize the concept that they have is twisted. So they think they're right.
That's why.
They will not accept.
Or you're listening to, like, you're reading the Word yourself and you're studying the Word. Me personally, I'm not trying to listen to pastors or preachers or whatever. I'm just reading my Word.
I'm talking about biblical too.
What you're talking about is that King James version of the Bible was written that way so he can get his voice.
And like, I mean, I'm 32 years old. I still consider myself a youth. This is my daughter. Now, I've read Bible, the Quran. My father's Muslim, I'm a Christian. I consider myself Rastafarian, but a Garveyite Rastafarian. I don't necessarily believe the Bible, because the Bible, a lot of things in the Bible, like the 12 tribes of Israel, it's a concept. It is not a people. It's a concept. It was these people, the group of 12 tribes. It was a concept taken from African astrology. It wasn't no Solomon.
Right.
It didn't exist. But if you've grown up this way, your grandmother grew up this way, you're going to say, oh, my grandmother was a good woman. She believed in this, so it must be right. This has to be the way.
Now, I have a question. How would you know that?
How would you know that? Because if you look up where Jesus, if you look at the ancient African deities, you would see in the Indian deities, you would see all of them have a father with the name beginning with the J, mother Mary, some spell it M-E-R-I. You will see the same thing over and over, written over as it's been copied and then refed to people.
And to add on to that, now
Yeah.
do you believe that? Can I add on to that? Do you all believe that his real name is Jesus?
I believe that Jesus is something. It's a concept. It's not a person.
You know why it is?
Listen, okay.
Schumberg Center.
I'm not going to tell you this. All I'm going to tell you to do is do your own research.
Yeah.
Now,
before 325
you can find
AD.
from the internet.
Listen, during the time that Jesus supposedly lived, there was scholars all over the world. Then how come none of these scholars wrote about the life of Jesus Christ? How come that didn't come to Constantine, to Nicene Council in 325 AD?
Right.
And to
See,
add
we're
on to
reading
that,
something that's been written, and what they did, that's like if I write something today, but I predated 100 years ago, and say this is what happened. You see what I'm saying? And if you see who created it, like Flavius Josephus, he was a part of the whole scheme because the Flavian family, they took him in to write this story.
and you know the thing about that too?
The story of
You
the
know,
Bible.
first of all, they say
Yes.
that Jesus is North European, but do they tell you that Jesus is really not his real name because there's no J's in the Hebrew language, and he originated in a Hebrew background. So because of that, a lot of people are saying Jesus, but really he's not
I
English.
know.
He's not English at all.
The J, some people say Yeshua.
I think that's true. I think that's true. But for me personally, actually, my name is Jaja Rastafari.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in reference to what she's saying, she's raising a relevant question. She's a person who's in a faith-based community as a Christian. And how could she use her Christian faith as an instrument of liberation? See, this is what Malcolm. This is what Malcolm. In terms of self, this is what Malcolm was talking about the last days of his life. He said, if your faith and your religion has not done as much good for you as you think it should, you should put it in the closet, because us as an African people, no matter, when they came and shot Amadou Diallo 41 times, they asked him was he a Christian, Muslim, or Rasta. They shot him 41 times because they saw a black man. So how do we as an African people who are diverse, we're not a monolithic people, we are a pluralistic people, how do we use where we at as an instrument for liberation? Because Nat Turner used the Bible for liberation. Denmark VC used the Bible for liberation. They used Voodoo on the people.
Yeah, Voodoo.
You know what I'm saying? So, which is a great thing. I study that too. But in terms of what now you're right what you're saying, because I study that too. But for my faith-based community, and my Christians and my Muslims, all of that what you're saying is true. But how could they use that as a tool for liberation instead of a tool of incarceration?
And there's a model. There's already models for that when you talk about. You're talking about revolutionary theocracy, which is what Martin and Malcolm were teaching.
Exactly.
And as a matter of fact, in South America, many of the priests are teaching and using revolutionary theocracy that was done by Malcolm and Martin and a whole lot of preachers here. Adam Clayton Powell taught revolutionary theocracy. They were teaching freedom of the mind. They knew that King James wrote the Bible in that way so that he could justify his divorce. And that Shakespeare was involved in the drafting of that document. But they knew this.
Go ahead. See, I have a problem. My problem with the black churches and the communities is this: like, y'all using, y'all getting money from the people, whatever. Y'all have your collections and y'all doing all these other things. But it's like when the people come to you, it's like to diss anybody, but it's like a spiritual high. Because they go there, they feel good all up in the church, they feel good. Then when they leave, they go back right to the same problem that they had. My question is, what are the pastors doing for the community? Like, are they having any program after school programs? Are they having any field trips, people go to the museum to see other things of how we once was? Like, any type of thing besides just going there and speaking a word where you could just actually speak to the higher power yourself and not have no middleman blocking you.
Well, that's a study that you have to do, because I think we as a people, a lot of times we get into a fatalistic perception of reality. Like for me personally, I was homeless, and I learned this from being homeless, that when you're homeless, it's you and God, it's nobody. Nobody sees you. People walk around you, they walk through you, they walk over you, they walk under you. They don't see you. You're invisible. And what I learned is that was the greatest experience of my life. Because when I got to see you, I saw the contradictions of humanity. And the contradictions of humanity is that we live in a so-called democracy, but you're being democratic with the most abject people on the planet, which is people we don't consider as being human. So for me personally, when I came in contact with my Conversations with God, I came to read, actually that's a book called Conversations with God that I read. Great book. So in that book, Conversations with God, I started to argue with God and fuss with God. And God said, I gave you the breath of life. Why are you mad for it?
Right.
I gave you life. It's up to you. It's not up to me. Don't cry out to me, begging me for what I already gave you, which is the breath of life. So we as human beings, as an African people, sometimes we believe that people owe us. If you're in Dr. Carter's class, if she giving you information, you better go study. She don't pass you. You pass yourself. You mad at her because you failed the grade. They're gonna say she failed you. No, you failed yourself because she giving you information, and she's a professor who walked the streets of Newark, who live here and invested in the community of the people. So therefore, we as a people, sometimes we look and we say them, the government, the police, but what is your contribution to yourself, to your family, your community, and to humanity? And that's my challenge that I have with us as a people, as African people, is that we could vote for Obama because he's black, but you don't deal with the international policies that he's doing in Africa, where he allowed Saddam Hussein to be murdered. He allowed Osama bin Laden to be murdered, but they want to deal with the CIA, boosting them up and bringing drugs into the black community.
Or destroying Timbuktu.
Or destroying Timbuktu. Over 10,000 manuscripts and documents. So sometimes we as the people, we get blinded by blackness, so we get blinded by what has happened to us as a people. But the joy in living this life for me is that the God of my understanding is laughing at this, because this is a big drama like he talked about, and the big drama is that we have the ability to be one with that God force, but if you believing in the mystery and you ain't looking for you to solve your challenges and your issues and unify with other people, you're going to continue to look for a mystery to save you when you have to save yourself. Michael Jackson said it starts with the man in the mirror, but people look in the mirror and say, oh, I don't see that eating too much sugar will cause me sugar diabetes. Somebody came the other day and said, oh, I got sugar diabetes 6.2, but every day I see you fat with a big stomach and there's a free gym right here.
Right. Exactly.
On the college campus. So don't argue with me about you having diabetes when I've been telling you about your health. That's on you. That's not on me. Don't cry the blues to me. Cry to the God of your understanding, because it's not on me. That's on you and your God.
And the thing is, like, you gotta be based on facts. You can't be opinionated. Someone just can't talk to you and you be like, well, based on my opinion, you gotta live by facts.
Well,
if you know who your God is, if you know who Yahweh is, then you gotta live based on fact. You can live on faith, but you gotta live based on fact, because when somebody try to question and test your faith, you gotta know what you talk about, and you gotta know who you are as a person, and that's how you're going to be able to define what world you live in. Not only that, you're going to also listen and discern the people that are talking to you, but you can also apply that knowledge to other people. Yeah, revenue will come to that, but you just got to know who you are first before you just go out there and say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because then there's going to be distortion, and we don't need distortion. But we need